Alfonso Cahero, A Journey into Finance History. Chapter 20. The British East India Company receives its Royal Charter, 1600. In the early 17th century, England stood at the threshold of a new era of global trade and imperial expansion. The British East India Company's receipt of its Royal Charter in 1600 marked a monumental milestone in the nation's quest for economic supremacy and territorial acquisition. This charter, granted by Queen Elizabeth II, bestowed upon the company exclusive rights to trade in the East Indies, heralding the beginning of an unprecedented chapter in British history. The late 16th century had seen England emerge as a rising naval power, challenging the dominance of established maritime empires such as Spain and Portugal. With its eyes set on lucrative trade routes to the east, particularly to the fabled lands of the Spice Islands in the Indian subcontinent, England sought to establish a formalized system for conducting commerce in distant lands. The chartering of the British East India Company was a strategic move aimed at consolidating England's foothold in the lucrative markets of Asia and securing a share of the region's wealth and resources. The decision to charter the British East India Company was driven by a confluence of economic, political, and strategic factors. England, eager to tap into the lucrative trade routes to the East Indies, recognized the need for a centralized entity to coordinate and regulate its commercial activities in distant lands. Individual merchants operating independently faced numerous challenges, including competition from other European powers, logistical difficulties, and the threat of piracy. By chartering a trading corporation, England sought to overcome these obstacles and establish a more organized and efficient system for conducting trade with the East. Moreover, the establishment of the British East India Company was motivated by geopolitical considerations. England's rivals, particularly Spain and Portugal, had already established a strong presence in the East Indies, controlling key trading ports and monopolizing the lucrative spice trade. Recognizing the importance of establishing its own presence in the region, England sought to assert its influence and expand its sphere of influence in the East. Queen Elizabeth I, mindful of the economic and strategic benefits of East Indian trade, granted the company a royal charter, conferring upon it exclusive rights to trade in the East Indies. This charter provided the company with a legal framework and institutional support to pursue its commercial objectives, laying the groundwork for England's emergence as a major player in the global marketplace. The establishment of the British East India Company marked a watershed moment in the history of British commerce and colonial expansion. Founded on December 31st, 1600, the company was granted a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I, officially recognizing its status as a state-sanctioned trading corporation. This charter conferred upon the company a range of privileges and powers, including the exclusive right to trade in the East Indies, the authority to establish settlements and forts, and the ability to wage war and make treaties with foreign powers. The British East India Company was the brainchild of a group of London merchants and financiers who saw an opportunity to capitalize on the burgeoning trade opportunities in the East Indies. Led by prominent figures such as Sir Thomas Smythe and Sir James Lancaster, these entrepreneurs lobbied the English crown for permission to form a joint stock company that would enable them to pool their resources and undertake ambitious trading ventures to the East. With the granting of its royal charter, the British East India Company embarked on a mission to establish a foothold in the lucrative markets of Asia and secure a share of the region's wealth and resources. The company's early voyages were met with mixed success, but over time, it would emerge as a dominant force in the East Indies, controlling key trading ports, establishing lucrative trading posts, and monopolizing the lucrative spice trade. The establishment of the British East India Company laid the foundation for England's colonial presence in Asia and paved the way for centuries of British dominance in the region. The company's activities would shape the course of British imperialism, trade, and commerce, leaving an indelible mark on the history of both Britain and Asia. In the wake of its charter, the British East India Company wasted no time in embarking on ambitious trading ventures to the East Indies. Armed with exclusive privileges and a mandate from the English crown, the company set sail for distant shores in search of riches and adventure. However, the early years of the company's existence were fraught with challenges and setbacks, as it grappled with the complexities of navigating foreign waters, establishing trade relations with indigenous peoples, and fending off rival European powers. One of the greatest challenges facing the British East India Company was the formidable competition it faced from established trading powers such as Portugal, Spain, and the Dutch Republic. These nations had already established strong footholds in the East Indies, controlling key trading ports and monopolizing the lucrative spice trade. To compete effectively, the British East India Company had to navigate a complex web of political alliances, rivalries, and conflicts, while also contending with logistical challenges such as piracy, adverse weather conditions, and unfamiliar terrain. Despite these challenges, the British East India Company pressed forward with its mission, dispatching numerous expeditions to the East Indies in search of profitable trading opportunities. These early ventures were met with varying degrees of success, with some voyages yielding substantial profits, while others ended in disaster. However, the company's resilience and determination never wavered, and it continued to expand its presence in the region, establishing trading posts, fortifications, and commercial outposts along the way. One of the key factors driving the British East India Company's success was its ability to adapt and innovate in the face of changing circumstances. Recognizing the need to diversify its trading activities, the company began to explore new markets and commodities, expanding beyond the spice trade to include textiles, tea, opium, and other goods. Moreover, the company invested heavily in its maritime capabilities, building a formidable fleet of ships and establishing a network of naval bases and supply depots to support its operations in the East Indies. Despite the many challenges it faced, the British East India Company emerged from its early years as a formidable force in the world of international commerce. Its trading activities had a profound impact on the economies of both Britain and the East Indies, shaping the course of global trade and commerce for centuries to come. As the company's influence grew, so too did its ambitions, setting the stage for further expansion and conquest in the years to come. As the British East India Company navigated the challenges of establishing itself in the East Indies, it gradually began to consolidate its power and influence in the region. Through a combination of diplomacy, coercion, and military force, the company expanded its territorial holdings and solidified its control over key trading ports and strategic territories. One of the company's most significant achievements was the establishment of fortified settlements, known as factories, along the coast of India and Southeast Asia. These factories served as trading hubs where company officials conducted business, stored goods, and coordinated commercial activities. Over time, these settlements grew into thriving colonial outposts, laying the foundation for British colonial rule in the region. The British East India Company also forged alliances with local rulers and princes, leveraging these relationships to gain access to valuable resources and trading privileges. Through strategic marriages, political alliances, and financial incentives, the company was able to secure favorable trading terms and establish a dominant position in the lucrative spice, textile, and opium trades. In addition to its economic activities, the company also played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the East Indies. Through a combination of diplomacy and military force, the company intervened in local conflicts, supported friendly rulers, and established puppet regimes to further its commercial interests. In some cases, the company's actions led to the overthrow of indigenous governments and the imposition of British rule, paving the way for the eventual colonization of the region. By the end of the 17th century, the British East India Company had emerged as a dominant force in the East Indies, controlling vast territories, monopolizing key industries, and wielding considerable political influence. Its success had far-reaching implications for both Britain and the East Indies, shaping the course of global trade, politics, and colonialism for centuries to come. In the East Indies, the British East India Company's presence had a profound and lasting impact on the region's economy and society. The company's trading activities stimulated economic development, created employment opportunities, and facilitated the exchange of goods and technologies between East and West. However, the company's dominance also had negative consequences, including the exploitation of local resources, the displacement of indigenous industries, and the imposition of unequal trade practices.